So it's been a really long time since I've watched a new release that I've loved with all of my heart. 2023 marked the first year ever in the history of my channel in which I haven't rated a movie a 9 out of 10 or higher. What was the highest rated movie of mine, you ask, in 2023? It was Dungeons & Dragons: Honor Among Thieves, a film I scored at an 8.5, the only 8.5 of the year. Now, you'd normally think an 8.5 out of 10 rated film might have a shot at landing in my top 10 favorite movies of the year, maybe around the 9 or 10 slot. But unfortunately, no. D&D was number 1 on my list because nothing else I saw was mesmerizing. As for the other movies I reviewed, well, I handed out a variety of 8s, some of which earned that score. Others, I don't know, I guess I threw them a bone because I wanted to like them more than I actually did. There were some 7.5s and 7s and so on and so forth. Oddly, nothing too horrible this year, except for one, which sure is a good thing. This was actually the only year since I began doing YouTube where we didn't get a plethora of horrible theatrical releases. It was mainly a majority of the 2023 superhero releases I disliked most from the year, but that's only because everyone's tired of them and they added nothing new. 90% of the 2023 superhero films were bland and forgettable. Any other year, I'd be ecstatic about not getting an abundance of horrific movies because I can't complain about not watching a bad movie. Or 10. However, I could not find love at the theaters in 2023. There was not a single film I was blown away by, and as a movie buff, this destroyed me. I have never been so disappointed by a year at the movies. It started out promising with multiple movies I really enjoyed, but nothing I loved from January to December. So if you ask me, I'd rather watch 25 awful movies in theaters if it meant I could experience 5 amazing movies the same year, instead of getting 50 films ranging from mediocre to highly enjoyable in a year without anything spectacular. 2023 sadly provided the latter instead of the former, in my opinion. Is it crazy to say I actually prefer 2020 in cinema over 2023, despite receiving way less major releases by a long shot thanks to COVID? The reason? Because films like Soul and Another Round were released. I shared no connection with any film I saw in 2023, like the connection I felt with both of those movies. As much as Oppenheimer and Across the Spider-Verse fanboys will come for my throat over this statement, it's how I feel. Every human being is wired differently, and for me, I just wasn't a huge fan of either movie and several other popular picks from the year. Okay, maybe if Oppenheimer was 30 minutes shorter and had more memorable scenes, this wouldn't be the case. Nevertheless, I did not love the movie like so many other critics did. I get Oppenheimer is a well-made film, like every Christopher Nolan movie, but is it really that good? Or is it only because there weren't many other great films to discuss last year? I swear, every critic on social media placed Oppenheimer in their top 3 best movies of last year. Usually, some people will disagree, but it appears everyone rode the Oppenheimer train in 2023. Oppenheimer was also nominated for 13 Oscars, so clearly it has been one of the most popular movies of the last few decades. Now, I gotta say, I'm hesitant about 2024 in film due to 2023's lackluster performance. As much promise as this upcoming year has, I have my reasons for skepticism. If you provided me with an opportunity to see my most anticipated movies of 2024, such as A Quiet Place Day 1, Gladiator 2, and Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes to name a few, I would say, wow, that's cool. But am I as excited for these movies as I was about new franchise movie releases 10 years ago? Ever since the pandemic, I've experienced less greatness at the movies with each passing year. From 2020 to 2023, I haven't been totally impressed. Like I said, 2020 had a few incredible movies. 2021 had even more due to the carryover from 2020. But 2022 was very top-heavy, as I only came away loving 2 movies, Top Gun Maverick and 13 Lives. And you already know my thoughts on 2023. A total of 0 movies that I instantly loved. What the hell happened? I remember when I began this YouTube channel, there were years so stacked with amazing movies, I had trouble putting together my top 10 best films of that year in correct order. There were times I'd have large expectations before seeing a movie, and those expectations were happily met with thunderous applause from myself. I look back on the outstanding reviews of La La Land, for instance, and I knew I had to see it in theaters. So I did, and it was nothing short of phenomenal. But of course there were moments I experienced a sensational movie without any expectations going in. I was just blown away and pleasantly surprised by what I witnessed in front of me. This was the case for films like Good Time and Another Round the first time I saw them. Both were huge surprises and easily around the 9 out of 10 mark for me in my rating system. This doesn't happen for me anymore with new movie releases though, so I beg the question, what happened to great cinema? Again, I understand this opinion will be heavily scrutinized, but my brain works a certain way. It's rare when I immediately love a film I just watched for the first time. It happens, but not too often anymore. Maybe it's a me problem, but also there were various times I watched older movies from the 2000s and prior for the first time last year and fell in love. I had never seen films like Flight, The Hunt, or Platoon, but loved all of them on first time watch. Much more than any movie I've seen in the past year and a half or so. With all of this said then, is it really a me problem, or have people just been overrating new movies lately? And has cinema in its entirety been down quality-wise since COVID? What about my top 10 movies of 2023 list? How do I actually feel about these films? Well, to begin, Creed 3 is still good for what it is, but it became clear there isn't much else they can do with this franchise. Gran Turismo is a fun, well-made racing movie, but nothing particularly new. Killers of the Flower Moon was too long for its own good, and the social media film community are split on their feelings of this one. Past Lives might be the most original, down-to-earth, relatable movie I saw in 2023. But is it a film I'll ever watch again? I doubt it. Missing was another highly entertaining experience at the movies last year, but let's be real. Searching is more of the true inventive gem. I really like David Fincher's The Killer, but in comparison to his cream of the crop, I don't prefer it. The Holdovers was another pretty damn good and heartwarming film that I saw last year, but would not consider it an overall classic. Guy Ritchie's The Covenant proved yet again Guy Ritchie has unlimited range from behind the camera, although it is an over-the-top modern war movie, and I don't really have any modern war movies in my top 200 favorite films of all time. Guardians 3 got the job done to finish up this franchise on a high note, however, it's not as good as Part 2. Plus, it's an MCU movie. Finally, Dungeons & Dragons, my favorite movie of 2023. It's the film I had the most fun with in cinemas last year. Regardless of that outcome, come on, a movie like this should not be my #1 favorite film of the year. Now, if I were to talk about my favorite movies from the years, I don't know, 2010 to 2019, I would mostly be praising my top 10 non-stop without any negatives, especially my #1 overall film each year. That's just not the case with my top 10 list in 2023. I can point out the obvious flaw from each film because all 10 are far from perfect, unlike my past top 10 of the year lists. Let me add that it's not out of the question maybe one day I'll look back on 2023 and think, I was wrong about that year at the time. It was actually pretty amazing for movies. I began the channel in 2016, and back then, I didn't think it was an amazing year for theater going either. But after some rewatches and much needed time, I came to love 2016 in film, and now consider it a very strong year for top tier movies. Keep in mind, this doesn't mean I'm going to stop watching new releases, as I still have a glimpse of hope for the future of movies. Again, 2023 wasn't bad, nor was 2022 or 21, but compared to the pre-COVID years, they fell short. It has to be only a matter of time before we get multiple game-changing movies in the same year. The question is, when? Could it be 2024? For some, 2023 was that year. For others, every year in film has been great from before the pandemic up until now. For me, on the other hand, I think the last stellar year was 2018. 2019 was very good too, but I'm not as fond of that year in film as so many people are. I just need 2024, or at the very least 2025, to be great, since we've gone so long without an incredible year for movies. So, what are your thoughts on the current state of great cinema? Do you agree with me about the post-COVID years feeling lackluster, or am I just tripping? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comment section, and of course, as always, thank you all so much for watching this video, and I will see you all next time.